Hello and welcome to another episode of Toya Talks Wrestling, and today we're going to talk about, obviously, Raw, May 12th, 2025. This was a decent Raw. I really enjoyed this Raw. There's always some low points in the show, but we're not going to talk about those. Or maybe we are. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, let's talk about some lady stuff first. We had Becky Lynch cut in a promo, and she was sitting on the top rope in the corner where the ring post is, and she's looking down. She looks kind of pissed, whatever. She has that pissed off Becky Lynch face, which I think is adorable, but whatever, that's just me. I'm weird like that. And she's telling the audience, she's like, you know what, on Saturday I didn't lose, I wasn't defeated, I wasn't beat. They boo her, and she's like, oh, you don't believe me, she's like, well, one of us after the match went to the hospital. The other one went back to her home and her match in her hotel, whatever, and had a nice glass of tequila. Me, right? She's like, once again, I gave Lyra Valkyria the best match of her life. I made her look good. I carried her and everything else like that, like I always do, right? And she starts talking and saying other stuff like that, but she starts claiming that Lyra has been manipulating her all this time. But you know who else has been manipulating her? And she points to the crowd. You guys been manipulating me all this time. At one point, you used to love me. You used to carry me on your shoulders. You used to be the best for me and everything else. You were me and I was you. And because of you, you made my career. Because of you, I got to go to WrestleMania, and I got to main event WrestleMania and win and everything else. But see, that was the problem. I started winning. I started succeeding. And when I started winning and succeeding, you couldn't handle that because all you know are failures. And I'm obviously not saying this word for word, so sorry. But he says, all you know is failures, right? And everything else. You got mad at me because I kept winning and everything. And I'm just like, you know what, Becky? You might have a point there. Because every time these wrestlers, they start winning, and somehow we don't like it. I mean, I guess we don't want different winners, obviously. But it's like, these people might have, the heels today have too much, they make too much sense. Alright, the heels today make too much sense. This is why I'm like, I don't know. I want to boo you, but damn it, you might be right. Anyways, so then she goes on. She goes, you want to know why I left for a year? It's because y'all wanted me to leave for a year. Because you're like, oh, Becky Lynch is winning again, and Becky Lynch is this, and Becky Lynch is that. And she goes, you know what? From now on, that's what I'm going to be. It's like, you think Becky Lynch is selfish? Guess what? I'm going to be selfish. You think Becky Lynch is this? I'm going to be that. And so on and so forth. But what I got from the promo was that I'm going to be the monster you say I am. So you think I'm a bitch? I'm going to be a bitch. I'm going to be a lot of fucking goddamn things because you said so. You created this monster. This is all your fault. And she basically warns the women in the back as well. So I don't think that Becky Lynch and Lyra are over yet. I do think that Becky Lynch probably gets another title shot for Lyra Valkyria. I could probably see this match being added on Saturday night's main event because that's next Saturday. So I could probably see this being added on there. I'm not sure yet because I don't know if they're going to add on Io. Io might fight somebody or maybe Rhea at Saturday night's main event. If not, I can probably see part 2 of Lyra, or actually maybe part 3 because they fought before for a title. So between Lyra and Becky Lynch. But moving on, speaking of Io and Rhea, we had a tag match. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley tagged up and they went against Julia and Roxanne Perez of NXT. This was the main event. This was a very good match, very good. I enjoyed it very much. Obviously, Rhea and Io won, and then they had a moment where they were both looking at the titles and staring down the titles. So obviously, we're going to get that match. I don't know, sooner than later. I'm not sure, but somewhere down the road that is going to happen again for sure. So after the show, I paid attention this time, and they had an exclusive with Roxanne Perez and Julia backstage. Roxanne Perez is like, I can't believe we lost. I talked to Adam Pearce, and we're going, and before she even finished the sentence, Julia was like, there is no we, and walked out on Roxanne Perez, and Roxanne Perez looked shocked, like, what? And everything else. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe something comes up tonight on NXT. Not sure, but we shall see. We had tag team action for the men this time. We had the American-made Creed Brothers versus the War Raiders with the New Day on commentary. Now, as I told you last week, the New Day pretty much tried to convince Chad Gable to go and fight the War Raiders so they can get some, opportunities to get the tag title, something like that. See, I thought this match was for the number one contender spot for the tag team match, for the tag team titles, but it wasn't. Just like last week I thought it was, but it wasn't. I guess it's like a little bit, get them a little bit closer to the tag titles, which I mean, cool. It's funny because when Michael Cole was out there, so they're all out there, right? And Michael Cole was telling, the New Day, like, you've been avoiding the War Raiders, like, you just don't want to go after them. And Xavier Woods and Kofi was like, yo, we beat them at WrestleMania. We're not afraid of them and everything else. He goes, yeah, but Michael was like, yeah, but you cheated. And Xavier was like, I know you're not talking, Michael Cole. Didn't you just do the exact same thing, or at least try to do the exact same thing on Saturday? Because the match between Gunther and Pat McAfee, Michael Cole did try to help Pat McAfee cheat. Didn't work, but we'll talk more about that with Tim later on in the week. But yeah, they tried, and he's like, but that's not the point, right? And then Pat McAfee, because he returned and everything else, he's out there and he's like, yeah, but we're not talking about us, we're talking about you guys. Like, that's not the point, right? Like, just hush. Anyways, it was funny. I was like, come on, Michael, come on now. You were cheating. You were trying to cheat too, okay? Can't even say anything, right? You can't even throw that at them. You try to do the same thing just because they succeeded in their cheating. Can't even say anything, but it was funny. Goes over. So what happened was that eventually Xavier, he fucking interferes and he tries to be a distraction. When he was a distraction, Kofi Kingston pretty much pushed off I think it was Ivar, off the top rope, and then the Creed Brothers did the freaking bomb, the rolling ball thing move. I can't think of the name of it. Anyways, Creed Brothers win. So that, I guess they're that much closer to getting a shot at the titles. I don't really know what's going on with the tag titles and everything else like that. Like, I think they're dropping the ball on the tag teams here. I think, like, SmackDown's a little bit better now, but on Raw, I don't know, dude. And it's like, especially with the New Day, and that's like probably one of the best heel turns that they had, besides John Cena, and they're not doing anything with it. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping for something to happen. Maybe they need to bring some fucking new talent in or something like that. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to do something for sure. We had a match between Chad Gable versus Penta. This was the second time these two have fought. This was a good match. I think I liked the first match better with Penta's debut with Chad Gable. I think I like that match better, but this was good. It ended with Penta winning by doing a Mexican Destroyer on I gave her from the top rope, which looked gnarly. My goodness gracious, it was fucking ridiculous. So that was that. Then we had a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Judgment Day's all like talking with each other, saying a bunch of stuff, and basically saying, oh, you know, you still got your title, Dom. Yeah, congratulations, blah blah blah. And then Dominic Mysterio, he goes up to Finn Balor and he's like, Finn, what happened on Saturday? Because you had Penta there and you hesitated. You know, so like what happened was, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later on in the week with Tim, but at one point, Dominic Mysterio had the refs distracted, and when he had the refs distracted, you know, JD had Penta, and Finn Balor could have just kicked him or done something to him, but Finn Balor's like, no, let me get a chair, and he was holding the chair, and he was hesitating with the chair, and then like the ref, you know, he finally turns around, looks at everybody, pretty much kicks all of Judgment Day out of the ring area, and it was El Grande Americano, like I said, was pretty much stopped Penta. But anyways, let me go back to what happened on the backstage of that segment. So we had Dom, and he's like talking about like what happened. You had the chair, why didn't you use it? Because if it wasn't for El Grande Americano, I would have lost my title. And Finn Balor's like, whoa, calm down, relax. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're beginning to sound like Rhea and Damian Priest when they had their titles and everything. I was like a little bit paranoid and stuff like that. He goes, you know what, there was a little bit of hesitation, but at the end, it doesn't really matter because you won, you kept your title, and that's all that matters. And I'm going to take care of AJ Styles for you tonight. And Dom was like, you know what, you're right, and everything else. He's like, alright, I'm gonna go get ready. So Finn Balor leaves. And then the rest of the Judgment Day, they're like talking and stuff like that. I don't know what the fuck they were saying. So then we had the match between AJ Styles and Finn Balor. And this was a good match. I don't know why the audience was sleeping on this match. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was pretty damn good. It ended up with, obviously the Judgment Day was out there. You had JD and Carlito. I don't know where Dominic was at the time. He wasn't there at all. But so it ended up where like Judgment Day is pretty much interfering, and then you had Penta come out, and Penta pretty much got rid of JD and Carlito. Carlito got a Mexican destroyer outside of the ring on the mat, and it just looked bad for not for Carlito and Penta. It's like, okay, y'all stop doing those Mexican destroyers. Just look bad, not like bad in a bad way. Just look bad like in a painful way, and I'm just like, ooh, I hope they're both okay. Like it didn't look like ooh. Anyways, you know, Finn and AJ Styles ends up winning with the phenomenal forearm, and then the Styles Clash, and that was it. So next week on Monday we have a tag match with Penta and AJ Styles versus Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD. So that should be interesting. Can't wait to see that. They did a tribute for Sabu. Sabu died May 11th, 2025. May he rest in peace. They gave him a little tribute. The audience was like, thank you, Sabu, thank you, Sabu. It was really nice. There is a video vignette for Rusev. That was pretty good. Then backstage you had American Made and Natalia, well, everybody except for Otis. And Tozawa's like, he wanted to challenge Rusev, and Tozawa, Adam Pearce was like, you can't challenge him, you're not medically cleared yet, and everything else. As he was talking, Sheamus comes in, and Sheamus talks to Tozawa and everything else. I forget what he said, doesn't matter. And then they leave, and Adam Pearce is like, you know, good job on your debut back, because we hadn't seen Sheamus since like before that, since Royal Rumble, He said you did a good job, and he's like, thank you very much, because I have a lot more ring rust to get over with. He's like, Adam Pearce is like, oh, do you? And he's like, yeah. And like, I think I have an idea. And he's like, well, what is it? He said, how about next week a match between Sheamus versus Grayson Waller? Because Grayson Waller was supposed to fight him last week, but Grayson Waller pulled that off on his partner, Austin Theory. And Adam Pearce was like, you know what? I like that idea. Consider it official. So next week we'll have a match between Sheamus and Grayson Waller. So I don't know what Austin Theory is gonna be there or not, but it's gonna be interesting. So can't wait for that. Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about talked about a bunch of superstars. I'm just gonna go ahead and just talk about it. It all makes sense when I'm done. Hopefully. Anyway, so we had CM Punk. CM Punk actually started the show, and he was out there, and you know the crowd's going crazy because CM Punk, why would they not be? He goes out there and he's like, "Isn't it great to be alive on a Monday Night Raw?" Talked about how he is pissed off at a lot of people. The list of people who I'm not pissed off at is a lot shorter than the one that I'm pissed off at, but the number one person that I am pissed off the most is myself, because I've been here before with Paul Heyman. 12 years ago he put staples in my freaking head when he hit me with a ladder and everything else. So we've been here before, so I've been betrayed by Paul before, so I shouldn't be surprised. So I should be mad at myself for trusting him. He talked about how when he came back, how Jey Uso had warned Punk about Paul Heyman and everything else like that. He said that he's gonna go and he's gonna get his hands on, his fat little neck. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is a fat little neck? It's either fat or it's little. It can't be both, okay? I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Keep talking, Punk. Just let me shut up. Whatever. It kind of reminds me of fucking, like, I'm gonna digress a little bit. Kind of reminds when Punk and Triple H, and they had their little feud, and Triple H is like, I'm gonna kick your little like skinny fat ass. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, what? Okay, you know what? Okay, whatever. Digressing. Anyways, let's go back. Right, he starts talking. He says, I'm gonna get the little brother and Braun Breaker and everything else like that. Little brother is Seth Rollins, by the way, in case you guys don't know. He's not actually his little brother, but that's what he calls him. And anyways, he starts talking and all this other stuff. And here comes Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, ladies and gentlemen. And CM Punk, there he is. Right, here he comes. Little fat neck, whatever. And all this other stuff like that. Punk is like, look, I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain yourself. Come into this ring. Explain yourself why you did what you did to me. But let's know those are going to be your last words. Because I'm going to, basically choke you out with a fat little neck, whatever. And Paul Heyman is looking. Right as Paul Heyman look here, Seth Rollins music comes on. Here comes Seth Rollins. Obviously the crowd's singing his songs. And CM Punk goes like, dude, you ain't nothing but a song. You ain't nothing but music. No one cares about you. Right? And Seth Rollins is basically telling CM Punk that he should be ashamed of himself, that he put Paul Heyman through hell during, the road to WrestleMania, and put him all this other stuff. So that was your best friend. And you put him through hell, and you do all this stuff like that and everything else. And all he wanted was to support you and do everything he wanted to do because he was your friend, and you put him through all this shit and all this stuff, and you're being selfish, and you're just thinking about yourself. It was because of you, I am not World Heavyweight Champion, right? And CM Punk was like, well, as long as I'm standing on 2 feet, you ain't never gonna be champion. And I was like, you know what? You might want to take that into consideration, Seth Rollins, because he said the same thing to Drew McIntyre. So when CM Punk says you ain't never gonna be champion, means you ain't never gonna be champion unless you take him out. So yeah, you might want to take him out because you ain't never gonna be champion. Okay, CM Punk is on his word when he be saying that shit, for real. Right? And then Seth Rollins was like, basically, you know, they're just going back and forth. Seth Rollins was basically like, you know what? At this point, Braun Breaker was there. And he's like, you always want to play the victim. You always want to be the victim. Oh, woe is Punk. Woe is me. Woe is me. He's like, you know what? If that's what you want, let me oblige. And he goes and he sends off Braun Breaker to the ring. Braun Breaker's walking to the ring, and CM Punk pretty much, you know, he meets him right at the apron, starts beating up with him with the microphone. They start battling and everything else. Here comes Seth Rollins. So now it's a 2-on-1 situation. And then we get Sami Zayn coming out, and I'm just thinking, okay, tag match here coming up. I don't know when, but I can see it happening. So we had this at one point, CM Punk pretty much got thrown out, and then Sami Zayn got thrown out, sorry, and they started double teaming, attacking on Punk, and that's when Jey Uso comes out and he starts helping out with them. So now we have a 3-on-2. We pretty much was a 3-on-2, and Punk got some chairs and everyone. So we had Punk had a chair, Jey had a chair, Sami had a chair, and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, they slid out the ring, go up the ramp, right? And that was the end of that segment and stuff like that. So then we have an announcement. There is going to be a tag match for Saturday's main event. CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Kind of knew that was going to happen. Saw that coming. So backstage, you had Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman. They're all sitting in the back, right? And Seth Rollins, you know, being a mentor towards Braun Breaker, it's like, you know what? This is exactly what we wanted. We got exactly what they wanted. We're in their heads. They probably think they're going to win. They probably think they're winning right now. They think they got the best of us and all this other stuff like that. But no, we're the best of them, and we'll prove that on next Saturday. And they started talking and everything else. He goes, but you know what? And Seth Rollins stands up, and Braun Breaker stands up. He's like, there's something I need you to do. One more thing I need you to do before the night ends. He whispers in his ear, and he goes, have fun. And Braun Breaker has like a smile, like, yes. Like a big smile, a big grin on his face. Like he's just happy that what Rollins had permission to give him. Right? And my first initial thought was, oh, they're gonna fuck up Jey. Right? I can't think of anything else. They're going to go and fuck up Jey. Anyway, so we had Jey backstage talking to Pierce. You don't really hear anything. They're just like, it was just him talking to Pierce and then walking towards the backstage, towards not Gorilla, but through the audience as he does his entrance and everything else like that. Everybody's eating. He was eating from a cute little kid and everything else. It was so adorable. But anyway, obviously the audience said, let's one more time. So they yeeted one more time. It wasn't that long. And Jey Uso starts talking. He starts talking about Logan Paul. So last week, Logan Paul pretty much sucker punches him after the show and everything else. He starts talking about Logan Paul, talking about how Logan Paul is going to get his, how Logan Paul's been ditching and dodging him and everything else. He will see him at Saturday Night's Main Event, and he will take care of him. As it's going on, Gunther's music starts playing, and I'm like, oh, what's this about? What's going on over here? Alright, I was not expecting a Gunther appearance with Jey Uso, but here we are. Gunther comes out. He basically says, well, the impossible happened. Jey Uso is the heavyweight champion and everything else, but he said that Jey Uso is not champion material. Jey Uso cannot handle being champion. He told Jey Uso that why don't she tell the audience, the crowd here tonight, what Adam Pearce told him. Basically, Gunther was like saying that whoever wins at main event, he is going to take on the winner. So on June 9th, which would be a month from now. So whoever wins between Logan Paul and Jey Uso, which is going to be Jey Uso, basically saying whoever is the winner of that match, he's going to challenge him for the world title, and he's going to get his title back, and he's hoping that it is Jey Uso. If they wouldn't know, people would be happier more than to take that title away from him and go to the rightful owner, which is Gunther. And Jey Uso's like, look, I'm going to take care of Logan Paul, and in a month, I'm going to take care of you. And that was pretty much the end of that and everything else. They had to stare down, and, you know, I think Jey Uso left or Gunther left. I'm not sure. Someone left. Anyways, that was that. You had Luke Kaiser being interviewed by, I think, Kathy Kelly, basically talking about how some stuff. It doesn't really matter because the interview was cut short because Braun Breaker ends up attacking Jey Uso, all like predicted, right? And, you know, they told him to leave and everything else, and then you had Jey very much injured, and Sami Zayn's like, who did this, and it's like Braun Breaker and everything else like that. So they got some medic and all other stuff. So I'm guessing I don't know if there was any Logan Paul coming out in an exclusive, because I didn't watch that. I didn't see anything, but I'm thinking that they're just trying to Jey Uso injured, so that way, you know, people are going to think that, oh, Logan Paul is going to win because Jey's going to be hurt. And I wouldn't be surprised if on next Monday, Jey will get more hurt and everything else. Blah, 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 blah. We'll see. Anyway, so we had the last thing, which was Sami and CM Punk were talking backstage. And Sami's like, so we have a tag match for Saturday Night's Main Event. And Punk's like, yeah. And he's like, Sami's like, well, you know, I know you're having a hard time trusting people and everything else like that, but we need to be on the same accord, basically. We need to be on the same page. And he's like, you know what? I'm having real big trouble trusting people and stuff like that. And Sami's like, yeah, I get it, right? I understand. Like, I had a real hard time trusting you when you teamed with us on War Games. But I did, and it worked out very well. And Punk's like, yeah, sure, you know. And with that, he's like, so he goes, look, we need to be on the same page, because if we're not, they're going to basically beat us and all other stuff like that. Went back and forth, and they pretty much agreed they're going to be on the same accord. It's the whole will they coexist sort of thing. I'm just like, well, how much fucking damage could they possibly, how could they not coexist? They both have a common enemy in both Seth and Breaker at this point. The freaking match is next Saturday, so basically you have that Monday. What are they going to do? Fight each other? And it's like, oh my gosh, whatever. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is WWE. I don't know. They might do that, but I don't see why. I don't know if I'm going to be covering Saturday's Main Event or not. May or may not. If I do, expect a video on Monday about that. The following Monday, whatever. About that. If I do cover it, I'm not really sure yet. Who knows? But it was a decent show. I enjoyed it. It was cool. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye.